Thank you, Dave. Okay, let's call this thing to order. Everyone be orderly, please.
Is that an order?
That's an order. For fun, I'll read aloud the EDIC's mission. Our mission is to support and enhance the economic environment for current and future businesses, residents, and the community at large. Let that be our atmosphere today.
Nice.
Josh sent updated minutes from our July meeting.
Has an E to your name.
An E at the end of mine?
Yeah, I was incorrect. And I also didn't change the date. So.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Has everyone had a chance to review the July minutes?
See?
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
Outstanding. Any second?
Aye. Second.
Second, great. Cool. All in favor of approving the July 16th, 2019 meeting minutes, holler aye.
Aye.
Great.
I'll be an abstention, seeing I wasn't here.
Fair enough, so approved. Should have asked if there were extensions. Oh well.
That's okay.
Um,
I'll let you know.
I would offer the public to speak, but no one's here but the invisible
They're
guy.
being quiet today.
Yeah. All right. So, have I got a list of administrative considerations? I love admin. I'm wondering if we can find in the future meeting minutes a little more detail, not to the point of Gwen's minutes, which I understand are almost a transcript. I think it would be helpful, mostly for me. This is a very selfish request, but I wonder if you are willing, and if you are not, if anyone is willing, to take more detailed meeting minutes that would allow us to know, here's some of the nuances, the contours of the conversation.
Sometimes we do, I think that's a good idea. Sometimes we get off on tangents though.
Totally, and that's when I stop writing.
Yeah, okay.
So I would encourage, like that, like you've got great judgment.
Good.
Would that be cool
Yeah.
with you?
Yeah.
Outstanding. And are people okay if if EDIC is not providing to you a printed copy of the agenda? I got it printed for us last month, and then I got an email from Barbara asking me not to print things needlessly.
Oh, like print these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that okay?
Does she have a reason? Just paper saving?
Yeah.
Yeah, but who printed them, her or you?
I printed one
Oh,
and
you
I
did it
asked
in
them
the
to make
office.
copies.
Oh,
I see.
Uh-huh. And,
If it comes out electronically, it should be good.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bring my own.
Okay, cool. That's great. We have learned in the intervening time that EDIC only has 9 allowed seats per a decision by City Council in April of 2018. So currently we're only missing 1 seat filled. That's good to know. It's easier to fill 1 seat than 2 maybe.
Who's the other two that are, 1, 2, 3?
We're missing Paul.
Paul.
Well, that's it.
Oh, right.
Right, so we're missing just
Okay.
a seat.
So we are, you said we are 9 now?
We are 9 per City Council's decision in April of 2018.
And just the background for that, Gwen, is when our membership was 15 or 16,
Right.
the problem is we could never meet a quorum
Yeah, I heard that.
because you need half to have a quorum.
Yup.
Half
Heard
of
that
the
too.
membership, not half of, not
Yeah, half of members.
half
So
of
it got
the
reduced
membership.
from 15 to 10 originally in 2015, I believe. And then in
Yeah.
2018, they reduced it from 10 to 9.
I think that was just an effort to make it an odd number, right?
Well, yes, but also the quorum for 9 and 10 is the same.
Oh, right, right.
But it's just, right?
Yep.
No,
totally.
no, the quorum went down.
The quorum would be 5.
Right, the quorum went
Nine.
down to 5 as opposed to 6, and it just was a lot
Right.
easier.
Right.
Yeah.
But odd number is always, I think, a little better anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was the date City Council decided that we should be 9?
April 2018.
Okay.
Well, since that's up, is 9 a good number? Does everyone think?
I think it's a good number.
11? Yeah, 9.
I think 9's a good number for now.
Perfect.
If there was a waiting list for membership, it'd be different, but.
Yeah,
Then
we've
struggle with
always
that.
struggled. I shouldn't say always, since I've been on board.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a waiting list?
No.
No.
There you go.
And you know, if you go on the city website, and maybe there's a way for us and or the city to promote that more, but the Council on Aging's had 2, I saw on that board, there's 2 vacancies that have been vacant for 9 months now.
Yeah.
So it's not always easy to find the folks that want to dedicate the time to, and for a council on aging, a lot like this, it's mostly meeting time.
Yeah. We got a couple of topics that may get at this point today that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on.
Okay.
But I want to seek a 9th person. Why not? Seems like fun.
Absolutely.
Expectations regarding resignations are really just, if you think you're not going to be able to fulfill the role anymore, please let me know. And then it makes who I have to contact
A lot easier.
a lot easier. I don't care for certified mail. That was annoying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think that was unnecessary, though.
Well, take it up with the
Technically,
charter committee.
yeah.
Oh, you can certify.
Not even the charter committee,
Yes,
it's
Sarah.
Barbara's interpretation.
Right.
All right, you tell me what argument I should make to Barbara.
I mean, it's done.
No, you're not. She's protected and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's done.
Okay.
But when Sarah's resignation by email should be sufficient.
Plus the vote.
Yeah.
After 3
But
missed
she, you know,
meetings.
Sarah
I
said,
mean,
I
this is all
cannot,
in the
I know
chart.
that happened, I can't make it. That should have been sufficient.
I don't know, Barbara sent me code.
Plus, she moved to Hatfield.
Right.
Yeah.
Dan had a
I
baby.
know, what I'm saying is, if I resign and I make it public,
Yeah.
I don't think I need approval.
Yeah.
The other piece
We're
is,
not saying you can leave yet.
Right, I mean, it's this Hotel California, you can check out,
But
you
It
can't
does
leave.
feel like a large rigmarole.
Yeah, that's all.
For a voluntary decision, like now I have to tell you and spend $6 to tell you?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Right.
That's not great.
the other piece though, when we were looking at this for the COA, there was a residency requirement. I thought that was true for all the boards.
Yeah.
So it
Came
should
up,
have been.
right, Dave?
So that,
This came up on charter, didn't it?
yeah, and there, some boards, there is, you don't have to be in town, I forget which ones, but mostly you have to have a residency.
Yeah, because I guess I thought it was universal, but
Yeah.
if that's the case, then her moving to Hatfield should have been automatic.
No, I think this board is actually one that you don't have to be a resident.
Well, do you have to have a
for.
business in town?
Yeah, it might have been that.
Did she have a business in town?
No,
Yeah.
boy, she,
But she lived in town. She lived in town,
Oh,
so
then
she
she
recently
moved.
moved to
I
Hatfield.
core. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I do think that not living here anymore sort of like takes you off of
it's
the...
almost automatic, yeah. Okay.
Fair enough. All right, thank you for out loud verifying my gut feeling, which was, this seems like a lot.
You can check out, but you can't leave, right?
I mean, maybe she's citing state law or something, it's not our charter.
I can go find the email. We can all peruse it and make our decisions and then...
We got better things to
cocktails
do.
about it. Yeah.
Splitting hairs is fun.
Okay, one idea for seeking new members. September 14th, there's a committee fair that is held at Mill Pond that's being put on by City Hall. So Paul said that he's not sure he can't be there, so he probably will. If anyone else would like to join us.
That's a little backwards.
Yeah. It's a Saturday.
Saturday.
Yep, it's from 4 to 6 at Mill Pond, at Mill Pond, New City, not really sure.
I'll be serving wine outside.
Well, I'll come get some.
There you go.
Please note that in the minutes, Gwen will see Casey at the wine part. So the goal there is to introduce people to our mission and projects and get them enthused and give them access to the application right then and there. I mean, the application is one thing. I had to write a letter. I don't know about everyone else, which is more than I was willing to write while standing at a table. So anyway, it's a start, and that would be cool. So anyone who wants to come jazz people up about EDIC, drop by.
So Gwen and
Sir.
Paul will be in attendance, right?
Gwen, plus or minus Paul?
Yeah, I won't be able to make that, I won't be in town.
Okay, I get it. All right, so I started the meeting with our mission. I would like us to be what I think of as more self-determined in designing an action plan that depends on our members thinking and doing things in support of that mission in an active way. So I have a number of ideas for that. We have a lot of opportunities. I think we have some time to do a little soul searching as a committee. What do we really care about? What should we care about based on the stuff that's happening with the downtown strategic plan? What's happening with the arts and culture visioning process? What's happening in City Hall, the grants that they're pursuing? What's happening with other committees? So, a couple of ideas I have, and I'm gonna write them on my big piece of paper, include the master plan. So I sent a link that's one of the resources that I don't expect anybody to have had time to read. But I sent a link to just the findings from a survey that was done, what was it, December 2006, I think, with residents. 44% response rate as a survey researcher. That is an astronomically high response rate. I was very impressed to read that.
I'm sorry, which survey was that?
It was a survey of Easthampton residents conducted in December of 2006 about their...
okay.
Yeah, as part of the master plan process.
Okay.
And so some of the things that they identified, here, in case you haven't had a chance. So we got feedback on what a majority of respondents were interested in pursuing in the long-term plan. Like the master plan is meant to be, what, a 50, 75-year plan for the city. What about 50% of respondents were interested in, and then what they were not interested in, which I found very interesting. So this is now almost 13 years old, these findings from respondents. That's a useful context to have, but I'm interested in using some of those ideas as a jumping off point for what we might want to pay attention to or include in our thinking. So one of the ideas, and I've had a conversation with both Jeff Bagg and Jamie Webb, is we could look at the master plan and identify some of the accomplishments in the economic development chapter, which is, what, I don't know, pages 42 to 65 or something. And the last couple pages are a chart of all the objectives. We could identify what accomplishments the city has already achieved, what the changes are in the city's landscape, and some new objectives that we don't have to be solely responsible for, but that we think are worth paying attention to. That could include reviewing what city council's up to, reviewing what the housing partnership is up to, that sort of thing. So that's accomplishments and what's next. And I hope y'all know how to read cursive.
Yeah.
Y'all are older than millennials, so I think you can. Another thing, how do we or how should we engage with the community as the EDIC? How do we share with people what we're thinking about, other than making minutes available on the website? Lots of people not paying attention. I mean, Casey is the person I know who knows a person who watches all of the meetings, but that's the only person I know.
Oh, I know. You can see how many views they have. 6. Yeah.
So, thinking about whether social media or some other push out kind of communication would be a useful thing. I acknowledge that identifying a person to be responsible, even within a larger committee, for pushing out messages is a lot of work. And the idea of pushing out was, I think, better than, ooh, let's have a two-way, because I've met the Easthampton Facebook page and it is a nightmare. So mostly
But
thinking about...
The planning board has a page though.
Right. So we were thinking about what if the EDIC had one that we could use to not just highlight the work of the EDIC, but also highlight local small businesses, new interesting business ideas, some of what already exists in town. And use that to feed into the planning board's page, use it to feed into the Easthampton Facebook page, City Hall's page, whatever, so that it's getting a lot of play on a lot of different social media platforms. Mostly about firing people up about economic development. It's an idea. So what is that? That's communication. Another of the links that I sent about wayfinding support. This one I encourage us to go for because it is it's short term, it's a relatively quick turnaround, and it would be a quick win, I think. It's about $10,000 in support from Massachusetts, don't remember what the D stands for, I initiative, that would help us, it's probably development initiative, that would help us get some ideas for how we mark where people are in the city and how you get to where else you'd like to go.
Was the EDIC, that's us, Easthampton City Arts working on something like that?
I don't know that. That's worth
Well,
finding out.
They did make that
Yes.
sign that's out by the pond.
On the pump, I mean.
Pump house.
Yeah, the,
It bas-
I believe there was conversation, I don't know if it's still current, if they're still working on that, but I thought there was some wayfinding
Yes.
kind of things that they were talking
I
about.
was at their meeting last, and they are talking about it.
Oh, well, there we go.
And Gwen, when you refer to the 10, is that a grant
Yes.
that Jeff's already working on?
Jeff is interested in submitting it if this is something that we're interested in going after. It's usually due sometime mid-November, so it would be something that we would need to finish before end of October.
what's the 10,000 for? Research and studies or signs?
I think it's, I can't remember.
Hopefully signs.
I can tell you.
The
I can tell you
application-
that the sign that's on the pump house is supposed to be repeated 4 times, or 3 times. Liberty Street's supposed to have the other one, but because they haven't done the infrastructure work yet, they don't want to put it up and have to take it back down.
Yeah.
The Mills are supposed to have one, and then somewhere around the rotary triangle thing is supposed to be another one, and they were supposed to be color-coded like subways.
Yeah.
So you know,
So they already exist, they just haven't been put up?
No, I think it exists conceptually.
design, probably, they got an artist to design, they're Italian, or get a
But
little bit of money.
This grant might be to actually pay for the creation of the signs and installing them. I'm guessing that they're that far along. It's not
Yeah,
design.
This one I believe is about design.
Be curious to find out where they are, because they definitely have put some energy
Who's
into it.
they?
ECA.
Okay.
But that sign on the pump house is not what we're talking about? Or is it?
It's one
It
of
can
them.
be.
It can be, it's the same
It's
concept.
it's a prototype.
So it's the kind of thing where
Okay.
it says, here's where you currently are.
Yes,
You might walk that
it
way.
gives
if
you a
want
connection
X,
to, shows
go
you the
that
bike
way.
path.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume it shows the Mills.
Look, if you want to get to Mill 180 or you want to get to
Exactly.
Paragon or
Yeah, I think it just goes from
Boylston or
top
whatever.
of Cottage to the end of, or the start of Ferry.
That particular map.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes a map. I think that was, it's supposed to be the same design at all 4 locations, basically.
Interesting.
Here to get here, here to get there. So I'd be curious to talk to Jeff. He would
Yeah.
know about where that stands.
Sure.
Only because
Let's
we
assume
talked
that's
about basically 4 zones, 4 colors, and perhaps having colored streetlights. Like
Oh, wow.
the
That's fancy.
poles would be like, oh, wow, these, I mean, not that we have too many of them, or certain elements that are like, oh, this is all green,
Follow the green.
that's the green, this is the green.
They were
Cool.
at one point talking about painting the curves
Okay.
different colors.
Yeah.
But, when you think about, that doesn't really seem feasible, because often they're blocked by cars, or they have to be painted something else to designate, like a loading zone.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Or,
And people are like,
So
well,
I think that-
can I park on this blue
Yeah.
curb?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so there's been some legwork done on that.
Okay. That's very good information. That
So-
would, put the kibosh on, let's design something new.
Yeah.
Well, I think though, when I hear wayfinding these days, I think about directing people to parking. Like I think that's the term that the problem we have is people don't have the ability to wayfind parking, according to what Jeff has been saying. I'm not saying that's what he's saying about this grant,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that could fit into that too, because we need signs to point to City Hall, parking lot, up Maple, things like that. But we supposedly have signs on order for City Hall. There is one
Okay.
there, just for
How do you know that?
Jeff.
Great.
And what's with that new sign up front? That's so.
I don't know, I wanted to stop and look
I
at it on
went
the
to
way.
stop
in,
too, I
but-
think.
I thought
It's,
that,
I thought it was
it's a charging station.
It's a charging station.
Oh, is it for, okay.
For phones.
Oh.
I don't know if you-
I don't know how long it's there for. though.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if
it's
it's a longer,
temporary.
if
Good.
it's an experimental thing.
'Cause it's-
You can also put messages up on the board.
It's,
Oh, cool.
it's hideous.
Is that where it's gonna be, where it's sitting, or is it just
For
waiting?
now. It's
Okay.
just, I don't believe it's permanent.
Okay.
That's all.
It looks like an advertising for the company that put it up or something. It's just sort of like,
That's probably what
we
it is.
just don't need
Yeah.
words, don't
Yeah.
It's a very popular topic on the Easthampton Facebook page. I invite you to join in the fun.
Luckily.
I don't like to get riled up, so.
Yeah. Yeah, you just gotta scroll by.
Yeah.
market analysis alongside a housing analysis. So, a couple things related to this. There is a draft downtown market analysis coming at us from the Downtown Strategic Planning Group that I will send to you after this meeting that Jeff sent me. His request is that we review it so we can provide some comments and discussion at our September meeting.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's pretty detailed.
Yep.
It goes up right on down to how many dollars this firm thinks Easthampton could be capturing in like a shoe store, and how many square feet we can support, and how many we are supporting. It's pretty interesting.
Cool.
I don't know how accurate it is,
No.
but it's better than what we've got, which
Right,
is
and I think these folks said this is what they do.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So the housing thing is a big deal for the planning department right now. Alongside a market analysis, what value could EDIC add to this? So what if there were an opportunity for us to design the kind of thing that we would like to know so that we could make some recommendations to city council or to some other entities in the city? And Jeff has talked about, wouldn't it be great if we got an intern from UMass? There are ways to do this. It's in the works to do this. What if a portion of that intern's work was related to what EDIC's design was around some kind of small business related analysis or number of employees at local businesses, that sort of thing. So if we had a set project that we were interested in, how could we make use of an intern's time so that we could guide them and they could guide us in return, and we're not doing a ton of work that isn't in our own respective wheelhouses. So that's...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I wasn't here last month, but did you all speak about the Worcester trip?
Yes.
We did.
Okay.
That's coming up.
Okay, because that was one of the things that the city manager spoke a lot about Worcester Polytech. Polytech, is that it?
Yeah.
I think that's right. They had a lot of interns and they did a lot of work with that. They revamped their whole, I think it was the filing system that they had, which was in pretty bad shape. They digitized it all. Anyway, so I don't know if that came up last month.
No, we didn't really go over the intern part of it.
Okay.
I completely forgot the intern.
No, I don't know who was even in that, the conversations are very broken with different people.
So I'm going to leave those there for a second. And in Jeff's absence, he sent me a little report he'd like to share with you all. Is there anyone who wants to break in right now with a thought or anything before I move on to this?
Yeah, I'll throw it out there because it's been noodling around ever since I went to the last planning board meetings. I just want to I see what's going on in Northampton right now. We're up to 3 or 4 30-plus year businesses that are closing. I just want to make sure that in all of our efforts, starting with Jeff, all the way down to us, all the way down to everybody, that when we talk about retail business coming to your downtown, any downtown USA, I just hope we're not chasing a ghost. In that, everyone said that the malls will put downtown out of business. Well, now online shopping is putting malls out of business. And I don't know, for example, if someone, first of all, I'm not sure who's going to have the guts to open a shoe store in Easthampton because there's not enough critical mass.
Sure.
So small town New England, maybe small town USA, is gravitating towards becoming these bedroom communities, and people just shop from their bedroom, no pun intended. And to give you a quick example, we were looking for something a couple of weeks ago. We were in Bed Bath Beyond, and they had 6 choices we could pick from. And my wife didn't like any of them. Went home, went online, and there were 340 to choose from.
Yeah.
Went to Best Buy a couple of months ago looking for something, and the clerk in Best Buy said, "You're better off to look for that online." And I almost said to him, "Do you realize you could put yourself out of a job here?" But that's, I just don't know.
Well, and I think that so what the deal is I think what people are looking for now are experiences.
Exactly.
Right.
So
So
you become
I
a
think-
theater district, you become restaurants, you become
Right.
the arts and culture.
Just you need a little bit of retail to enhance that experience.
Right, and I think there's
So, you
always
know-
going to be a space for a boutique type of something, whether it's, Eastern Mountain Sports was considered a boutique.
Outdoor wear. Outdoor wear.
Yeah, So something like that perhaps, or even, we have 2 new retail on Cottage Street. We have Wonderland 413 and Sonnet and Sparrow, 2 completely different things.
Right.
Totally great accents to.
Right, more like an experience.
Yes.
I guess what
Yeah.
set me down that tangent
I
when
think
was
big boxes-
hearing shoe store was, shoe store is so 50s.
But I
I
think.
don't know that a normal shoe,
Right.
Payless Shoes just went out of business.
That's
No,
the
right.
thing.
And those are the bigger box experiences that I think only offer.
I guess, but Payless was cheap shoes.
I know, but you only had
I could replace them 4 times.
4 or 5 choices, and that's why I don't like to go to any of those places.
And you walk in and have employees that say, go buy online.
Right.
These, I think, from what I watch in Northampton, I think that what happened is that the rents got too high because you had these corporate entities entering who have this economy of scale like Starbucks. And they can sell,
Urban Outfitters.
thousands of cups of coffee or hundreds of pairs of shoes a week. And they can afford to pay that rent making a quarter per cup or whatever. And couple that with the shuttered storefronts from sewer, and you have a high rent situation and that none of these mom and pop stores can handle. So I'm with you in protecting against that. That's
I like
really
the word
troubling.
Mo said was experience. If you can, if the retail we try to attract, if we send this intern off in that direction, you say what we're looking for is to make Easthampton this experience. It already is, but how do you embellish that with the empty storefronts we have?
I mean, when you think about,
trying to
say
laugh.
for instance, you go take a trip down to Mystic, or you take a trip down to, on the Vineyard, or whatever it is, it's those smaller boutique,
Right.
and sometimes specialty, higher priced items, or not, but there's a nice mix of those things, but I
Right.
think
Of course,
that's what makes it interesting.
Under the theory of the chicken and the egg, did the boutique shops go there because that's where all the people were, or did the people go there because the boutique
Well, I
shops
don't
were
know that we're
there?
ever gonna solve that, but I mean,
Martha's Vineyard has built-in traffic
I get it,
of pedestrians.
I get it. But.
We're
I
a lot
think-
better than we were.
I think on the flip side is that Easthampton has become a tourist destination.
Yeah, I was just
And
gonna
we've
say.
been focusing and partnering, the chamber has anyways, with Northampton and Amherst Chamber. We've put together our Hampshire County Tourism Guide, which has been a huge hit, really awesome, very specific to Hampshire County. And I think that's been helping.
All I'm getting at, I guess, is that's the eye we want.
Yes, yes.
We want to be looking to that
Oh, yeah.
eye when we're
Right.
looking at region, as opposed to, is there going to be a
A place where you can buy socks.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, who cares?
And I would add to that once you enter the Northampton phase, not to poo-poo Northampton too hard, there's no getting out. I think they're locked in. They're heading down a road. There's nothing you can do. at
Phase
that
of
point.
what?
The rents are too high, the storefronts are
Oh, yeah.
closing. It's just the life cycle of a city that you can prolong middle age, which is I think what Easthampton's entering in the life cycle.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing.
But
along-
once you get past that, you gotta hit rock bottom and be reborn again.
And what- I think one difference we'll have in Northampton though, and I hope we have, is a lot of people didn't realize that some of the businesses in Northampton, they weren't sustainable. Their backing is either trust fund or, and I don't think, I think we're more like, we're less of that. Yeah.
A little more grassroots here.
But the observation I made too is, like, my son was in town the other day, and just by coincidence, a lot of his classmates were in town, and, a couple times he said, we want to go out something to eat. They had no interest in going out to eat except for Casey's, Coco, or Bears goes on.
Right.
The local stuff that we think about, no, they want nothing to do with it. I don't
Well, I don't understand the differentiation. I mean, I think of Casey's as being local.
Totally.
And
Yeah, that's
They think Casey's is more, is,
More upscale.
More
Well,
yeah.
Where,
you
That's a
mean like
different
the
thing.
East Hampton Diner?
Right,
and-
right, right, right.
and even if you went to
No, that's
Nini's,
it's
they'd
just an
probably say that's where
observation
my
I had
parents go.
from-
My parents go to
Yeah.
Nini's. We cool kids go.
One of the things I would
Yeah.
say the difference for East Hampton is that I think there's a lot more owner-occupied businesses.
That's a good
which
point, yeah.
we're lucky to have that, and that's part of the issue with Fresh Pasta was, if they own that business, maybe they just hire people to run it.
Well, and then there also
You know.
comes, they were in business, like Tommy had mentioned, long-term businesses, and sometimes you just get to the point where you're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I need to go now.
But I guess,
And
but I
that's
guess,
fun to-
and maybe that's the,
Grind some axes on
But
your
North-
way out,
but-
and maybe
which is
that's
what
the
I think
Casey's
happened
point
a
too,
lot of
though,
days.
is you would think there could be some sort of transition. I mean, have you ever thought of maybe I could sell the business and somebody keeps it going?
Maybe,
These people just
maybe
shut
they
it.
did, but maybe they did think that, and maybe it's just too
No.
short for them.
Somebody
to
else
carry
is
But I
it.
think
That's
Chris,
true.
but Chris
Somebody
makes a
else.
valid point though. In Northampton, the rents are much higher.
Right.
And they're locked in.
Well, because once you get those big boxes in there, Starbucks, Dunkin'
You know,
Donuts are like,
you take the Urban Outfitters, for example. The Urban Outfitters in Northampton is a shell of most Urban Outfitters. It doesn't have half of what all other stores have. So you know, they're just like placeholding. They're just there. I bet you if they did a true audit of it, it's probably losing money based on their rent and their foot traffic.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna leave because, you know, it fits the whole role. Like you said, they have the economies of scale.
Yeah, the other thing is that the whole, sort of under the same chicken and the egg idea is sometimes the property, the location, the opportunity will draw something too. So, you know, I think this year, the Bank of America building on Main Street will go up. Now that's Main Street parking, campus lane parking, and a parking lot in the back, and a building where you could probably add 2 more stories if you wanted to. You know, it's got a yellow fallout shelter sign on the wall for a reason. It's built solid. So I'm guessing that, you know, something's gonna happen in our lifetime with that Moriarty property. That will change. That
Our
will-
lifetime, lasts a long time.
That will change the face of Main Street. It really will. And it's gonna take some big bucks to do both of those projects, and who knows what that will draw. But I like that concept of create the experience.
Absolutely.
We're not looking for a store that sells socks or men's ties or shoes. We're looking for that experience when you're
well, and
walking
I
in
feel
this.
like,
But you
just
cannot
as
get
a
away.
recent
Exactly,
transplant to
exactly.
East Hampton, I feel like there's a very eclectic character here, and it almost feels like that's what or the community has embraced.
Embraced.
They like that about East Hampton, they like that about themselves, and I think that's exciting, because that's what makes us different than everyone else around us.
Online is transactional, and that's all it is,
Right,
is transactional.
and this is relationships.
Exactly.
But I think what
Relational.
Mo said, though, is gonna be the one thing that saves us from not being able to go buy socks and underwear in East Hampton. Because you can get that online, or you can go down to the mall and get it there. But if we try to exist based on having stores where you could buy underwear and socks, we wouldn't make it.
Right.
Well, look at Peebles.
So
I don't think, yeah.
Exactly.
People's is going up, right?
I would like to inject myself into this.
If we let you. No, I'm kidding.
Ooh, yes. I'm only on meeting 2.
Mutiny.
It's a mutiny already. I thought we'd just start with SAS. This escalated quickly. I would like to invite all of you to use this conversation's content for framing how you read through that draft market analysis and consider some of the ideas of owner-occupied businesses and experiences in thinking about, imagine if we did task an intern with a small project that had something to do with what EDIC wanted to carry out. Would it be about criteria for thinking about future businesses, the way that we might support the planning board in thinking about what they say yes or no to? That was another idea that Jeff
Almost
had.
like an entrepreneurial funding for ownership of property, you know, say
Yeah, maybe.
you're a business that's existed for 3 years, I'm just thinking like a tattoo shop,
Right.
and then all of a sudden, all right, well, we're gonna figure out a way for you to talk with the bank, so you have the opportunity to buy that building.
It's a seller.
If, you know,
The landlord wants to sell.
if the landlord wants to sell, but sort of get into that kind of conversations where it's like, okay, if you have something you know that works in this community, let's figure out a financial source, whether or not through one of the credit unions or the local bank, or, you know, to find somebody who says, yeah, we put together a little economic package that says we have a little bit of seed money for someone who's earned the power. I mean, just that's
Yeah.
sort of like the concept.
So you said read through the draft.
So I'm going to send you the draft market analysis after this meeting. So as you read that, I'll send you reminders before our September meeting, but use the things that we've been talking about here to frame how you would provide feedback to these people who've gone to the trouble of drafting this. What worries you about it? What gets you really excited? What makes you go, that's a limitation, let's move on from that. I really like the idea of the EDIC having some big ideas and knowing that they're going to take some considerable outside work, and if we could make use of someone who's in school to do this work, get them in an organic opportunity to learn how to think about, like, let's do some research. What are some examples of this kind of financial idea? What are some examples of other communities that are thinking about this sort of experiential thing? I don't know.
It also doesn't have to be from the colleges, it could be from the high school. We had the charter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the We the People
Yes,
Club?
yes.
I think that Jeff is also thinking that this intern would be like, it's like their apprenticeship, so they're
A
going
little
to
bit more
be
heavy.
full-time in the planning department. What's a project that EDIC could throw them?
And then we're heavy alert with.
Sure, sure.
Point of order, is this part of Jeff's report? We haven't started that yet.
It's both. We're not quite there yet.
Okay, good.
It ties into both because all the stuff's related. But we can move on to the Jeff report.
Ding, 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 ding.
Sounds like a TV show.
Ooh, the Jeff report. Wouldn't that be good?
Podcast.
Or a name of a
Very
rock.
high energy. Very high energy because we're on the 4th espresso by 9 a.m. Okay, so there is a sounding board meeting for the Downtown Strategic Planning Group on Thursday, September 5th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. I am cutting out of work to be there. I hope I see you people there too. All of you do as you can.
Thursday, September 5th.
Thursday, September 5th, 9:30 to 11 a.m.
I'm on that board.
Heyo,
Now,
see you there.
what's the, just describe the, you say sounding board.
Yes, it's an opportunity for us to hear how things are going and be more involved in it. Do you have more to say about that, Mo?
No, I don't. I think that's,
So the board's gonna
probably-
make a presentation?
So you know those,
And then,
I don't know,
and then clean it
I'm-
up, I think.
it's
The planning board, right?
it's the same.
they probably just,
I
No,
think
the
it's the
strategic
downtown
plan.
planning group.
yeah, and it's an invitation. I mean, I don't know, I haven't talked to Jeff recently about that. I didn't know that he had opened that up, but I think that's a great time for you guys to come and hear
So-
what's going on, what's transpired. And
Probably
whether-
hear presentation and then opportunities for
Probably,
input, feedback,
probably,
whatever,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And where is it?
It's here at City Hall, so I
Upstairs.
assume it's upstairs, yeah.
This is the same board, yes, I think it's gonna be like the other three.
Right.
Right,
Yep.
a continuation though, they're not,
Daytime?
Yeah, they're not gonna be starting from the beginning. It's
Right.
like, this is where we're at, this is what we discovered, this is the market analysis,
Okay.
probably.
And again,
I'm
sort
not
of
conducting
review
ceremony,
priorities.
so I just go
Yeah.
and give my 2 cents.
That's,
Which is
Everybody
worth
bring
a
2
buck.
cents.
Yeah, there is a second.
okay, perfect, after Labor Day is good. Good.
Cool. So as I said, the draft downtown market analysis is coming your way after this meeting. We will discuss it at the September 17th EDIC meeting, but maybe you want to, if you want and have time, read it before that September 5th meeting so you have something you can throw out at people. Oh, I saw this
Because that's
detail,
where
tell me
that
more.
market analysis came from.
Okay.
It was from the sounding board, yeah, or the
Okay.
consulting company that we're working with.
Strategic, yeah.
Also related to downtown strategic planning is that the final public input collaborative thinking experience is Wednesday, October 9th, 6 to
that's
8
what I was
p.m.
thinking.
at the high school.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, that's the bigger
Six
community
to-
open
Yeah, strike what I
house
said
kind
about
of
Wednesday,
September.
October 9th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the high school.
Okay.
Yeah,
October
it's just the sounding board that's gonna be at this
ninth,
meeting.
From 6 to 8?
Yes.
So, since there's an invitation for you to come, I think that would be good.
And the planning department is going to begin outreach about that. I wrote end of next week, but I saw Jeff back last
Yeah.
week, so I don't know if that means this week or next week. Who can say?
I think that
What
I've
was
seen,
The planning department is going to start public outreach about the final group meeting sometime soon.
Yes.
Let's say it's in the next 10 days.
But what's on October 9th?
The
public
last downtown
meeting.
strategic
Public
planning
last, okay.
community input.
Public
group.
input opportunity.
Okay. That's downtown strategic planning, new topic.
It's like Fort Knox and Harrington.
They have submitted the Mass Works grant that was to get money to do the road redesign at River Valley Co-op on Route 10. They are not publicly touting this on social media yet.
Did you, I'm sorry, did you say that it's been
Submitted.
Oh,
It's been
submitted.
submitted.
Yeah, yeah.
A road redesign?
The road, yeah, so they can add a left turn lane and
In front of the
adjust
Rhode
the,
Island Police.
I don't think it's not a road.
We're not talking
No,
about
no, no.
rotary.
No.
no,
you
road
said road.
redesign.
Road redesign.
I heard road.
I hear how that got weird.
Yeah, okay,
Did
good.
planning submit it, or did River Valley submit it?
Planning.
Planning.
I wrote a letter in support.
Yeah, we have that here.
So
Submitted to the planning department?
submitted to
City
the,
Council?
to Mass Works.
Mass Works to get the funding,
Yeah.
because that was one of the things that they
It's a
didn't have the
considerable
money
amount of
to
money that
do
we're
that
asking
last
for,
time.
so
Yeah, sure.
let's all cross our fingers, because I think it's a linchpin for River Valley coming. I will send you the final submission after this meeting, which means I have that. I will send that to you. Okay, new topic. They've also submitted a housing needs and zoning assistance grant proposal. They have received positive feedback on the side. The announcement is expected in October. I will also send you that, so you can read that. And that, I believe, includes the, what is it called, the accessory dwelling unit? There's some detail about that.
I don't know
in
if
there.
that's-
So October is when they find out that they did get the approval for it, and then the
Yes.
whole process for that to happen is a couple of months.
I believe so.
Yeah, so that's probably a
Sure.
December, January finding.
This?
I can't keep up.
Heck yeah. I sure will. All right. We don't have to approve the planning department report, do we?
No.
No.
Great, let's not. Redevelopment Authority.
Just
Yes,
real
sir.
quick on planning
Tom.
department.
Yes.
In case you weren't all aware, the final approval went through for the development on Cottage Street at the former Cottage Street Motors.
Huzzah.
And-
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And that's
great.
supposed to happen in, I thought they said at the meeting they were gonna start construction in January, February.
Oh, sweet.
That's gonna be 19 housing units,
Awesome.
right across from, sort of Mount Tom Ice Cream, right there.
Awesome.
Station comes, pardon?
Next to the dye works.
Correct.
That's gonna be
So
great.
19
That's gonna
housing units, it's gonna look great.
And it is next to or in place of Jim's Package Store?
Next to,
Next to.
with a little bit of redesign of Jim's Package Store too, but
Well,
it's
spruce
gonna
it up.
sort of all
I just
tie in
wondering what's gonna
together.
get my wine.
But 3 stories,
Yeah,
it's
he's a
gonna look
little
pretty
concerned
pretty
about
massive.
getting all that beer in there.
Yeah. And then if you love seeing big vehicles and buildings fall down, hang out at 1 Ferry Street
Yeah.
because
Oh, I know.
it is coming down like
Woo.
unbelievable, it's coming down.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing how easy it seems to be coming down.
Well, there's
but-
not much holding it
but then
together.
they just take the
Yeah,
bucket
but
and they
just dust.
they're gonna keep some buildings, so you're kind of wondering what.
Yeah.
You wonder about the ones that are staying.
It's very strategic and it's really interesting
They
to
just
me
tap
how
the side of it
they
and the whole
are
thing just
engineering
falls. Yeah.
that stuff coming down. It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Are you sitting out there with your,
I haven't been, no,
Sounds
but
like Camp
there is one on Facebook. Somebody put a video, they took a 20-minute video and they, I
Oh, it's
don't know if it was
No,
Pat or not.
he had reposted somebody else.
And they edited it down to
did.
3 minutes and 3 minutes you see the half the building come down.
cool,
It's
very good, thank
so
you
that's
for
gonna be
that.
huge for the town, so.
Outstanding,
Yep, that's just because I happen to be at the meeting.
awesome. Reminder to self and the rest of you, another idea that Jeff floated was, would the EDIC be interested in strategically reviewing a certain category of planning board applications? I'm sure there's more to say about that. I'm gonna throw it in your little brains.
That?
That offer act in an advisory capacity and say, here's what we think would be great or not so great about this. Keep it, like, if they were going only by the book, here's what they might say, but we're looking on the side of, hey, it would be owner occupied, or
I'd
hey,
be
this is a
encouraged
sustainable
To
something.
give it a shot with the idea that we could say no in the future.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I do read the newspaper and I do see, when people are planning stuff, conservation committee, this planning board or that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I just think it's very difficult for them, they've got one view.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And so I think it would be,
Well, they have one issue.
This is for building
Yeah.
occupancy?
you know what I mean? It'd be sort of like, it'd be nice to just sort of like, all right,
I think just
no,
planning
this is just in
department.
general.
Maybe
Yeah,
reviewing
or-
planning
or
board.
just-
Maybe not so much.
yeah.
So
Planning board
as
gets
a
an
people
application,
oriented-
Josh, they get an application for a new
Planning board
whatever,
submissions.
and we get a chance to take a crack at it, I guess.
That'd
Yep,
be great.
yeah.
Provide some feedback, input, what have you.
I think it's a great idea.
okay. Redevelopment Authority, Part 4. 5? That doesn't matter. What did we talk about last time? Boy, oh boy.
We talked a little bit about what you did up in Worcester.
We did, but we did not have Chris with us.
No, and I wouldn't mind going through it again. I mean, one thing that's important to me is for us to try and get a grasp on what we can/should do going forward about redevelopment. I mean, do we have authority to be able to say, look, pal, this needs to be cleaned up, or else?
I thought a few meetings ago, we'd come to a conclusion that this was way too big for us.
Yeah,
Is
so
that where my office?
That was, I think, our initial feeling, yes.
Yeah.
I generally still think that, especially after Worcester, but I don't think it's too big for Easthampton. I think it's too big for EDIC.
Agreed.
It should be its own thing. If
Yes.
it were to be pursued, it shouldn't be under the umbrella or influence even of
Where do you think it would
EDIC.
start from?
I don't know. Maybe it could start here.
Mhm.
I don't know how they typically start though.
I think, I disagree that it shouldn't be, I mean, maybe it starts here, sure. I think that city council in a city this size has a lot of sway, and they've got stuff on their list that makes sense, is in the wheelhouse of what redevelopment authorities think about sometimes, just as planning board does. And the EDIC, if we had an express focus on something in particular, could act in again, in an advisory capacity, but doing a bunch of legwork that would help city council or planning board make a reasonable decision about what they should do about X.
But how was that structure? Because doesn't Westfield have one too, we heard? So in Westfield and or Worcester, how is it structured? Is it under planning? Is it under city council?
It's its own entity.
It's not.
Oh, that's right, because
Yeah.
we saw it there that
Yeah.
it basically doesn't report to anybody.
Right.
Well, I think the genesis, a possible genesis would be us, but ultimately the mayor. City council in general is reactive. They're gonna have authority to create it, but they're not gonna do it on their own.
But it also sounded, Dave, like when we read that initial information about it, that it was not a political, any way governed. It almost sounded like the mayor didn't have control over this authority.
Yeah,
I
but
don't think
that's
it's
what-
true, I don't think they do.
But that's what
There's
makes
a
it political.
state-appointed
because
person,
there'll
there's
be
a
source of
union rep.
power.
Oh, God.
So I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that the redevelopment authority can do anything that the city can't already do.
Correct.
And
So why
I'm really
another
hesitant.
group?
yeah, see, that's the conflict I come into with myself. We can be doing all this stuff now, but we're not.
Right, that's the thing, it's like, can we try to be focusing on a project or two and say, can we do this with the existing?
And not necessarily call it a redevelopment.
Exactly. I
Right,
remember
yep.
this conversation from the last time when we talked about, so why couldn't I'll look in the mirror, why couldn't someone just take Jack Moriarty out for a drink and say, Jack, come on,
Yeah.
is there some, how do we move this?
We talked about building
Behind the
relationships,
scenes.
cultivating those.
Yeah,
so
as
that we
opposed to
could
doing
move
it through
people
some official
from
authority.
across.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows the individuals.
Yeah.
Because there was motivation I don't want to go into, but look what happened to the two properties next to the bank. If you recall, what they looked like before,
Oh,
what
yeah,
they look
yeah.
like
I
now,
remember.
the houses.
One's
Okay.
on the rotary.
Which bank?
To Easthampton, when I say the bank, it's the only bank in
What
town.
other bank, what else other bank is there?
So those two houses, look at
You
them, look at
really?
it before and after.
Yeah.
So what was the motivation?
The death of the owner and I can't, I don't want to get into it all, Chris, but
I would have to
Moriarty was
agree,
involved with
Chris.
that.
I
And he got it going and got it done.
I get frustrated when we all start talking about adding another group,
Right.
when there's already groups trying to move a needle
Right.
one way or the
I
other.
think
And I'm a little bit more comfortable with the idea of having multiple levels of things. Like you've got the interpersonal communication between like someone like a EDIC and the subject of a problem, and then city council, and then the board of assessors perhaps, maybe the board, the health department for condemnation. You've got all these different bureaucracies which are good sometimes, that you don't do stupid things or violate rights or end up having a $15 million lawsuit because you screwed up, But on the other hand, no one's doing it. And I don't know what the solution is, except a redevelopment authority.
Well, I think, pick a project
Right.
and come up with a plan.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm not at
You know,
all championing the redevelopment authority. I look at that as a poor solution to a problem.
Well, I think the nature of the beast too is, like right now you can see, and I don't mean this in any way negative, it's just objectively, the planning department and the mayor's office are chasing grants.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lawyer chasing closings, you know. Other work doesn't get done because these things have deadlines, there's real gain, and you know, it's concrete. You know, it's kind of like, you know, almost like if Jeff or the mayor came to us and said, you know, we need to have some movement over here, can you help me out, meaning us? You know, I think we all would do what we can do. We don't need to create a whole another layer.
Yeah, and not to mention that Westfield and Worcester are not 16,000 person cities.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And so a redone authority is
Seems
going
like a lot
to,
of work to solve one or two little problems.
and they'll meet for 15 minutes most meetings because there's nothing to do once they've done the one or two.
Well, and not just the 16,000 people, but their geography is much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
So like, you know, that whole canal district where they're building a ballpark, I mean, that's probably, you know, 3 or 4 square miles, you know, and so it has some, well, it had a lot of blighted land, but
And they
there's
had,
things to work with. We don't
they
really have all
assembled,
that.
you're talking about the stadium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they assembled like, I'm going from memory, but I think it was 50 or 60 properties.
Yep.
You know, that was a big job, you know?
Yeah.
It's, so I mean, what's the solution then? Pick something.
I wonder though, Chris, if we could start with, if we go back to basics, the market analysis, if we had this intern,
Yep.
could they identify properties in our downtown, that we would say if you could wave a magic wand and make it better, which ones would you? Now clearly, Shop Row on Main Street, you wouldn't touch it, it looks fine. There's no eyesores there, business looks good. You go across the street, you say, okay, this property, you'd wish you could do something better with this property. Go down Union Street, what are the properties you might identify that could be improved or look okay or what have you?
So
Because-
some of that is coming expressly out of the downtown strategic
I was just
planning.
gonna say, I think a really great place to start is for us to review the strategic plan that Jeff sent out.
But-
And then we can formulate from there, so we're not duplicating or we're not spinning our wheel about trying to come up with something. It's kind of defined there, or we may even get sparked by an idea.
I agree with you, but when you look at, after you read the report and you look at things, one thing you should kind of look at is try to look at the landscape like a Venn diagram as opposed to one property. So
Right.
you have, I'm gonna pick on Hurry Scurry. Everyone kind of, we all know about it, we're familiar with it. So we focus on it, but if you were to think about, and then how this overlaps with Riverside,
Well, right.
that's what a redevelopment authority would do, is like, I want this circle, I don't care about X, X is just a part of the circle.
Right.
So, you know, and just in the back, as you look at things, you have to look at it specifically and
Holistically.
a little bit, not way holistically.
No, I
just
get it.
a little bit holistically.
So the
I get
downtown
it.
strategic planning group is doing that as well, and that is what's
Right.
going to appear at the third meeting in October.
Okay.
They've done let's look just at Main Street,
Uh-huh.
let's look just at Union Street, just at Cottage, look at just this part, what pleases you, makes you sad, what would you
Yeah.
wish? And then next time, they are combining some of the feedback into that, which is gonna be really interesting. And I believe in, to a certain extent, a bias toward action. So as long as you're not committing yourselves to this exact action, and we definitely will be held accountable for it by everyone in the city, cool. What if we had conversations with other committees that were formalized so that we have a stronger connection to the work that they're doing? I mean, I can sit and read their meeting minutes all day and not necessarily feel like I know exactly what's on their minds all the time. So if we accepted the idea that we have great ideas and so do they, and we have a lot of shared ideas, like this conversation we've been having about housing, there's a housing partnership. So if we put our shared committees together and talked about some of these ideas, what might we come up with? So we could decide that that's something we'd like to focus on and come up with a plan to be the conveners of that kind of conversation.
So, I just put this up here for new business, but I guess it fits in with what we're talking about.
Okay.
Worcester has a couple of committees that are made up of departments and committees.
Yes.
Do you remember this conversation? One of them was, they had an open meeting, like, maybe it was one Thursday a month, where they had like the fire chief, the police, Chamber of Commerce, a few other committees, and it would be an open day for prospective business owners to come in and say, I want to have a shoe store, what do I got to do? And they'd walk out of there with a punch list of things, like maybe even right down to, I'm going to need a sprinkler system.
Well, the mayor's already, she has her roundtable.
Oh, good, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So she's a roundtable with all of the department heads, so when folks come in, they can head that stuff off. Westfield does the same thing, which is a really
It sounded
cool,
great.
and it really works well. So we may want to see,
But whatever, if it's there, it's there. That's
yeah,
great.
or maybe just get an update the next
Yeah.
time she attends a
No,
meeting. so we can
that's
just-
good, those roundtables, but getting back to like the strategic plan after you read it, you know, somewhere down the line, we might want to say, let's go talk to Jack.
Right.
And, you know, we might only be the beginning, and it's gonna go on, but somewhere along the line though, someone's gonna say, let's go talk to Jack.
Right, and I think I heard Casey say it earlier, you focus on one. So if you look at the strategic plan when it's done, there might be 10
Yep.
that say something needs to be done. And it's gonna be overwhelming, and we can't look at 10, we can't fix up 10 places. But maybe we can start with one.
Yeah.
And really work on the one.
No, and have a conversation with that property owner and say, hey, listen, we've chosen you to try to have conversations with, to work towards the goal of having
It
a
sounds a
thriving
little-
parts to the city right there and hold our hand and
For the EDIC to say, yeah, that's going to be our mission, we can go and do that.
No,
As opposed to having a random,
Well, no, I think you have to work it both ways. But the roundtable is, and I don't mean this negatively, is reactive. Someone comes in and we're receptive to them.
no, I get it.
But sometimes you have
I
to be.
get what you're saying, and I get your proactive, let's go do something. But I'm kind of
Well, I just remember
wondering,
years ago, we had, with Stuart, we
I'm
had.
not against it, I'm
but
just
the-
saying, I'm
but the-
wondering if
no,
it's
hold on.
something that we
Years-
can do legally as a
No, I
group.
just remember years ago, we had
It seems to fit
one of our
the mission.
one of our
I
projects
hear
was
you. I'm with
industrial
you.
land, and we had a consultant come in and do a survey of our industrial land, maybe a new industrial park, identify some properties. But then a few years later, I was talking to one of the property owners, and Dave Cernak, and he said, no one ever approached me. And I was like, well, that was kind of silly. I mean, he has some industrial land, we're talking about it.
No, I get it.
Why wouldn't we talk to him?
No, I get it, I get it.
So there's
It's
another-
not that I'm not against what you're saying.
I think, Mo, coming back to what you were saying though, is to go do something is maybe just start a conversation.
I get that.
We're not gonna go in and do what the redevelopment authority would be, was ultimately take your property by ultimate eminent
no.
domain. and-
I
I
just wanna start a
see what
conversation.
Mo's saying, and I think that the concern is that the might of the government, the EDIC, is focusing their eye on one private enterprise. That's kind of worrisome. I mean, I'm
No,
exaggerating.
I think what it is, it's pulling this information and saying like, okay, we've had a consultant come in and do analyze, the needs of the city. And
Where we do
here
have
we
a
are,
consultant.
with this information saying, your property was picked as one of them. We see that these types of businesses would be successful, and we see this is the value
So
rate
potentially
of
that's
your business.
analysis first.
Would you be at all consider marketing your building at this rate, which would be, a win for you, and then the city would get a little bit of parking that it needs, a little bit of green space it needs, and the type of retail or experience space it's looking for, and say, would you be interested in us trying to market this for you?
Or what do you want?
Oh,
period.
exactly, yeah. I mean, it starts with that.
And
What
I
would
was
you like
even
to
a
see?
step behind that. I wasn't even, when you said the way to be, I wasn't even thinking of, I walk up to a property owner with an EDIC hat on and a badge, and I say, here,
That's what I'm saying.
I
No,
say,
but
I
that's-
take her
that's-
out for a drink and we have a
Yeah,
conversation.
but that's the worry.
You and
know.
Tom Brown.
Well, but
No,
here's
and it
the
starts,
thing,
are
too.
you receptive to?
You know,
And
within my
report.
role at the chamber,
Yeah,
I'm
it's all
very
about the
aware
report.
that no matter where I go, and whether I'm working or not, I'm still that face.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
But my experience has been though, like, I'll keep the names out, but there's two families in town that
That's what I'm saying.
are close to the vest on their real estate. However, I know that when they market their property, they always say, well, the town said I can do this. The town says I have potential for that. So it's not like it's gonna be, they might be tight to the vest and, you know, not rude or anything, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Because,
Right, it's in the city's interest to make information available to
Yeah.
folks who hold properties.
Yeah.
And then to, however EDIC gets involved would have to be something that we need to figure out the possible contours of legally, ethically, whatever.
Right. That's
And then
all.
just figure out how do we
Yeah.
do work in the best interest of the city that
Mhm.
is advantageous as well as possible to
Yep.
the property owner.
I think one thing in our favor, though, I agree with you, what you said, no matter where you go, what you do, you're the chamber director.
Yeah.
If you do something stupid, you're the chamber director, and that'll be tied to you. I think this is one case where the obscurity of EDIC is in our favor. I could talk to 100 people in Easthampton, they won't know that I sit on EDIC.
Not true for me, I've told 100 people.
So the obscurity can help a little bit in that. It's not, I'm not here, you know, I'm not, if you were the fire chief, the police chief, the mayor,
Right.
Mo.
Mo, and you're absolutely right, because I remember 100 years ago, someone saying, you're always representing the bank. If you do something stupid in the middle of town on a Saturday afternoon, you can't say, I wasn't working so I could do something stupid. You're always representing.
Yep.
But it's a little different with us because
Yeah.
what's EDIC to the average person on the street?
Right.
So I just want to bring up one other thing that's very in line with that, which I guess is called a roundtable. Something else that they're doing is they have regular meetings. I don't know how regular they are, and I don't know exactly the structure, but they'll have an emissary from something like EDIC and planning and Council on Aging, a bunch of different committees that will meet periodically and discuss what they're discussing. Because if we have something like we're talking about a redevelopment authority because we want to do this, this, and this, and you bring it to that wider group of committees, they could all bring, either they already have ideas or solutions that they've already enacted in their committees, or they could bring it to their committees, and suddenly your 9-member EDIC is a 120-member citywide committee without breaking any rules. Not to mention, you don't run into issues where someone like Cernak wasn't contacted
Yeah.
about something, because inevitably that word spreads faster and they'll say, well, has anyone contacted Cernak? You know,
Yeah.
things like that. I just wanted to bring that up as something to think about.
I like that idea very much, just in general, to
Yeah.
understand where there are, I hate synergy as a
Yeah.
word, but it's legitimate here.
And I could see that as being a commitment as part of this group, is that
Yeah.
we attend another meeting once a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, as far as
Yeah, it
sitting
doesn't
or
have to be a
whatever.
big thing. It could be just us.
Yeah.
You know, there's 9 of us, 1 extra meeting a month per
We-
person. We can cover most of the committees that are relevant.
EDIC did something like that in the past, a little different, Chris, but basically brought all the department heads,
Yeah.
police chief, fire chief, together in a room and invited the business owners, had a few appetizers, what have you, up here upstairs. And so the business owners had every, the head of the plant, you know, Jeff, and all the various boards were represented in the city in one room with the business community invited. So, and it was pretty, I mean, we sat in a big circle
And what was the point, what was the purpose? What was your,
for the business owners to be able to say.
to vent or
Hear,
to?
both, vent,
Okay.
ask questions, understand why is that, and one of the little things that came out of it was, I remember some of the business owners were grousing about the mountain closing during a snowstorm because my employees can't get to work. And it was, I think it was either October Company or Two Products, and all they said was, can you just notify us when the mountain's gonna close
Oh.
so that we can let our employees know? Don't drive from Springfield to East Hampton via that route.
This is right before Facebook and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, what a
And so, and the police chief said, that's a, I can fix that when I get
Yeah,
back
that
to the
was
station.
such like a
Yeah.
no-brainer type.
Yeah.
And it came out, and there were a lot of little tidbit
Yeah.
things like that that came
Yeah.
out.
Cool. How come we don't do that anymore? Who was that convened by, do you know?
EDIC,
Well,
There you
sheesh,
go.
guys, that sounds like a bias toward action I can get behind.
we probably did it once or twice, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
we did it
Right.
once or twice. And it's been so long that there's a whole new audience of business owners.
Well, it's interesting too because
Junction with the chamber.
the chamber, we've been doing that for a couple of years. We call it the listening lunch. And that's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's all we do, we just listen. It's not,
You
you're
forget-
not justifying yourself.
Businesses are just, they're working hard and their head is in the sand. They're just trying to do as much as they can. And you know, it's my eyes open up a lot once it's got away from the stove, you know.
But it was an opportunity, whoever said it, was an opportunity to vent, it was an opportunity to ask questions, opportunity to say, hey, I'm trying to do this and not sure if I can do it.
I like the idea of convening folks together to hear, to listen.
Yeah.
Not to engage in self-defense or justification or any of that stuff, just listening, because then you get like, oh my God.
Yeah, the other thing it did was to put a face to a name.
Yeah.
So half the business owners had never met the police chief, or
Yeah.
they hadn't met the health agent. or
That's
what
a
have you.
community
So-
building experience.
Yes, yeah, I love that.
I love it too.
So, how did it come about that EDIC sent a representative to the telecommunications committee? Was that built in telecommunications?
I think that was Paul, wasn't it?
Well, that was Paul.
No.
Just happened to be Paul.
But I think it
He's
was
on both.
built into the makeup of that committee. I thought.
Yes.
That's what I was wondering, because I think,
It is part of the economic development chapter in the master plan specifically related to telecommunications, so
Okay.
maybe that is a holdover from the master plan.
okay, because I really like the idea of us attending, you know, doesn't even have to be one a month, but another, or bring a report, or just a
Yeah, yeah.
member of the public and say what we're doing here. And it's tricky though, because with the open meeting law, I can't
Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah.
into you know, the affordable and fair housing
Well, I thought it was
partnership and say,
interesting.
You can say,
Gwen
no, you
said-
can.
I could say some public stuff, but they can't really talk about it to me.
Right.
I thought it was interesting when Gwen.
Once the public speak is sort of over,
They can't, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd have to be a little bit more formal about requesting an agenda item on those committees, and maybe they don't even want to do it.
Well, although when I attended the planning board meeting a couple of weeks ago, they do, for specific projects, they do tend to open up for public speak
Yeah.
in advance. So
on each agenda.
Yeah, so for Patel's building on Cottage Street, they opened it up for John Q to get up and say something. So there was a public hearing, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say before. And right after that was October Company. I don't know if they opened that one up, I didn't stay, but October Company is looking at a big expansion on
I
it.
think if you're on the agenda, that you're, EDIC representative, then you can, then you're free to speak.
And they're free to answer.
Right.
Yeah, it's just that when you're not on the agenda, then you go into the public speak portion, which they can engage, but they most prefer to be tight.
But remember, Dave, they do say at the beginning of the meeting,
Not on an agenda item.
right, if you'd like to speak here about an item that's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
If it's, so it leads you to believe you're gonna have an opportunity to speak when that agenda item comes up.
Right, yeah.
okay.
And they did on those two issues.
Technically, every item that comes up for a vote should be open to public speak on the city council. It's up to the president of the council on how they run it, but that's how like most rules of order run.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's stuff, you don't want to get the public in here trying to ask a question, be sort of like, oh, we've been talking about that for months, we're not going to spend all this time, you have to
Right,
speak.
but back to Chris's point, you're right, if I'm forced to get up to speak about an item at citizen speak time in the beginning of the meeting, you might answer my question if I just shut up and listen for a little while later in the meeting. So I should be able to get up and speak after I hear what it is you say, because you may not have addressed what it is I want to raise.
Right.
I like what Gwen said at the beginning of the meeting when she talked about convening the other groups together. I myself don't have a lot of wiggle room in my schedule to be attending all kinds of meetings in the evening.
Sure.
But if there was a way that we could do that, maybe committee by committee, or a representative per committee, chair,
Yeah.
or maybe the committee chairs, I don't know if that's acceptable within our,
I think Jeff
Our
could convene
meetings.
a meeting of chairs. You know, if Jeff wanted to, you know, I don't mean regularly, but I think occasionally.
well, yeah, periodically.
Quarterly even, yeah.
Or not even maybe, you know, even just once
As
a
needed,
year, you know,
yeah.
you get their agenda for the year and it's, or their
One thing that
mission.
potentially we could start to do is if each one of us watches one of the videos.
I don't know.
Ooh, we do want to drive our viewers up.
No, it's on the computer.
Ratings go right through the
Yeah, I'm
roof.
not gonna do that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But I mean, it's sort of like,
I'm not gonna do that. I don't watch ours. I don't watch it.
you can do it at your convenience, it's an hour.
I might as well just go to a meeting.
So I know that there's been talk about a city email list, committee member email list for a while, but that's always been stopped because open meeting law and quorums and stuff. But it just, who said heads, the chairs? Someone had just mentioned a meeting of the chairs.
Yeah.
I don't see why we couldn't have an email list for all the chairs.
I guess that issue you're
That's not a
referring
quorum.
to with all the, is if somebody sends an email to the entire committee.
Right, right. But I'm talking about inviting them to meet with us
Oh, sure,
in person.
sure.
It doesn't need to be complicated.
Right,
I'm trying to make it simple,
right.
easy.
This meeting.
But
I am, we are way over, but I love your enthusiasm,
Well-
it makes me very happy in my little heart.
I just want to bring up one thing if you don't mind, but Jeff's not here so he can't help.
Okay.
The pond situation,
Yes, it rears its ugly head again.
right, is anything, I only know what I see from the news. Is anything being done about it?
Yeah.
All I heard, Dave, was that they said that they thought it would be cleared up by the end of the week. So I don't know if that means Mother Nature
Yeah.
or what.
Well-
Situation, oh, it's got algae and stuff.
You're right, and it seems to me, I don't know what happened.
But dangerous.
dangerous, though.
Right.
Killer.
Yeah.
Kill your
Can't
pets.
Yeah.
stand it.
Kill your pets.
So, but what I'm getting at is, I know, I'm kind of, a little bit familiar because my wife happened to point out the articles of the dogs dying nationwide before it happened. So I read about it a little bit, and, in New Jersey, I know it has to do with the warming temperature, climate change, but also moving water. So, I'm assuming the dam wasn't moving as much as it had been in the past. I don't know if that's correct or not, but if it's a one-off, it's one thing. But we have a boardwalk, we have a district.
Yeah.
I like to see some we don't have to go into a sky is falling mode, but I see so far from what I've seen, it's kind of a blasé
Right,
response. And I think it's right. Let nature take its course. In a few weeks, it should go away. But I don't really want to see it next year.
End the year after, end the year
I know,
after, and then it's for 6
And
months.
it's presumably,
Yes.
the pond is moving water, I assume. There's water going over the dam most of the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
But no one's concerned about where this ultimately ends up, which is the Connecticut River.
Well, you're right. But one thing about the bacteria, though, is
As it's
moving
moving?
water brings oxygen and lowers the temperature, and that kind of helps cure some of the.
Oh,
It's self-filtering.
So don't we have
Yeah.
a freshwater source of Massachusetts Pond?
Well, the Broad Brook.
But it's not enough.
Right.
It's a
Now.
larger city.
So,
Permit.
previously, the dam management is under the city engineer's purview to monitor the level. And I'm sure there's protocol and regulations, which, I'm sure they follow, I'm unaware of. But I'm just concerned,
Yeah, what's the action?
right.
Can the pond be drained?
Oh, sure.
And
Well,
filled back up?
ironic-
Relatively easily?
It can be lower.
And quickly?
Right.
The bacteria is still gonna,
They're gonna be lowered, but it's
So
not.
ironically, the news came out Thursday,
it's living.
10 years to the day that we started, 10 years to the day that the news article came out over dredging the pond. And that's the last thing I say, when we dredged the pond 10 years ago, the scope of work was X. Unfortunately, we didn't do X, we did X minus because of budgetary. But the problem with that was the marsh between there's a weir that the CPA is looking at for giving some money, that has failed 10 years ago. Now, weir is a structure to hold back sediment. The marsh has increased incredibly, to the point where you can almost see it from Cottage Street. So the pond is also man-made.
Yep.
So in my mind, anything that's man-made has to be maintained.
Yeah.
I know there's money, I understand the budget, but that is our little centerpiece.
Someone
And it's the highlight, yes.
had told me that originally the pond was
It's part of our
55 acres
identity.
and now it's about 33 acres.
Correct. So,
But to Dave's point about man-made, and when I get in some very light conversations with some conservationists, I said, you understand, the pond is fighting you and nature to get back to where it was.
Yep.
It's fighting to get back to what its original state, which was a brook running through a meadow. And good old Sam Wilson dammed it up to make the pond. Mother Nature is fighting you,
Yep.
and you're fighting to keep the pond, and Mother Nature's fighting to make it back to what it originally was.
so
That's the irony of it all.
the National Pond Committee was seeking $301,000 for a siltation project.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a CPA money.
Yeah.
Right. Did they seek that and get it? Did they
I think
seek
it's
it
still
and we don't
pending.
know yet?
I think it's still pending.
Yeah.
So, is that related?
Well, yes, that's part of ongoing maintenance, it would help, because,
We're undoing the dredging we did.
right, because what happened is,
Or filling the pond back up.
We installed a weir 20 years ago or so.
Uh-huh.
And the whole idea of a weir is a dam-like structure is supposed to hold sediment, let the water pass through.
Yeah.
Well, the weir failed, so then all that sediment came towards the pond, but basically made a marshy area, which so it's working in reverse.
Right.
And they want to, get this money, help correct that, but, and I hope they do. I just think now that people have to be a little more like, hey, we gotta take care of this pond a little bit, and
The problem is learning from sort of mistakes or oversights. I mean, I was under the impression those weirs were supposed to be, because there's more than one, isn't there?
yeah, the reason why the weir failed is they weren't maintained.
They're supposed to be cleaned every so often. So
That's the whole idea.
if you put in the weir and you don't look back,
Right.
guess what, in 10 years, you're gonna
Stop
need it.
working.
Exactly, it'll stop working because it fills up.
So what would be useful to put this on the next, by September?
It might be solved by Hope-Quinn, but I guess-
Yeah, hopefully it'll be resolved.
Yeah, but
the quicker question is what's
So
the
the algae be solved, but not necessarily.
Right.
Right, it probably would be good to maybe, I obviously would get a report from Jeff. but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's all, I
There's
just,
something being done, and
No.
more so, I think
I'm being a
Josh
little
said,
critical, I
about next
understand,
year.
I do understand the constraints, but I just think that all the stuff we talked about is gonna be moot.
If we
Yeah,
have a
if we
poison
lose
pond in
them.
the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
I make a motion that we close.
I second the motion. Oh, any
Well,
discussion?
discussion about that, I have 7 on the agenda, but we'll just table that for next time.
Yeah, we're gonna table
Yep.
affordable
Bring it
housing.
back up.
You may learn what you need to know from the housing grant. So, I will send you stuff to read and reminders and stuff. Thank you for being here. All in favor of closing the meeting? All right.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Seeing none?
No.
Go, go,
Will you
go!
send me Jeff's report?
No, the team.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
The housing
Thank you all.
study.
Yes, yes.